Everyone has the right to a fair trial, but if they're proven wrong, he has the right to make them pay. Judge Joe Brown.
Rob Amon is a 38-year-old ski instructor from Jackson, Wyoming. He is suing 30-year-old nightclub manager Charlie Newman for loss of property. Now, here's Judge Joe Brown.
If I get this correctly, you are suing the defendant for failure to return your personal property. Is that right?
Yeah, that's sort of it, Your Honor.
What's this all about? What sort of property are we talking about first? State that.
Mostly it's clothes and personal effects.
A wardrobe, contents of a closet, what?
No, it's it was my clothing and my jacket and some stuff that was in my pockets, organizer and a prescription.
At a gym?
No, it's at a bar, actually.
Explain.
Well, it's kind of a little bit of a weird story, but there was a party at work, and the theme of this party was that it was kind of a drag party, cross-dressing party, so the boys were dressing up as girls and the girls were dressing up as boys. And what happened was we changed in the dressing room at the bar, so as I was dressed as a girl for the party, my pants and my shirt and my possessions were in the dressing room. I guess it was used by the band at this bar that the party was at. And when my ride came up at the end of the party, I went to go get my stuff, and the dressing room had been completely cleaned out, and it wasn't there. And he said, well, you know, they're kind of kicking us out. We got everybody's stuff. So we went back to the house where there was a barbecue before the party, and people were meeting afterwards. You know, only a couple of people were designated drivers to drive because there was drinking going on. And my shoes and socks turned up at the house, but none of my other stuff did, so I was sort of stuck in my pink
So you were
skirt.
boy by day, girl by night.
Yeah, so I was, it was a little bit inconvenient at that point. Also, my car keys were missing, and I was in no shape to drive. I wasn't planning on driving anyway, but I had been planning on changing back into my pants and stuff.
Didn't want
that
anyone
point.
to get the wrong idea.
So I kind of, it was a little bit awkward and inconvenient at that point.
You didn't run into your lady friend, did you?
No, but I was the only one that wasn't able to change. And then I had to break into my car the next morning. And when I got home, of course, I'm getting out of my car in the morning when the roommates and the neighbors are all going to work in my little red skirt.
You came out of the closet.
Shoes, yeah. You know, and the neighbors, Utah's a pretty conservative place, you know, so here I am. Broad daylight, you know. It was kind of embarrassing, actually, not to mention just the loss of my stuff. I mean, the big thing was my organizer, really, which had all my important phone numbers and all in it as well.
How does the defendant hook up to all of this?
Well, he's the manager of the bar. I don't know him. From what I understood happened was at some point during this evening, somebody threw up in the dressing room or something.
And that's not all.
And he got aggravated. The term I heard was freaked out and started kicking us out of there. I guess the people that I work with were there, tried to get everybody's stuff. But, you know, my point is, regardless, if he wants to kick us out, you know, he's got a PA there. It's a bar. He's got a sound system. He can go, if you've got stuff in the dressing room, why don't you come get it? Also, it's pretty obvious to tell who are the people that had stuff in the dressing room because they were either boys dressed like girls or girls dressed like boys. So it would be pretty easy for him to go around and say, hey, could you get your stuff out of there? So, you know, my position is, I don't know if he took it. You know, one of the girls that was getting stuff out said he was taking stuff out of there. I don't know if the kid that threw up on my stuff and somebody threw it out, you know, but it's my point is he's got no right to tell somebody else to take my stuff anywhere, you know. I mean, I'm sure you got some stuff in the back, Judge. You know, can I tell her to take your stuff, right, and take it to your house or wherever? If it doesn't turn up, you know, who's responsible for that?
Some people call this thing a dress, but I call it a bat cake.
I wasn't trying to imply that at all.
I mean,
but,
you know, hey,
if
but,
you have possessions, you know, you kind of expect them to be wherever they are when you get done here, right?
All right. So now, sir defendant, what do you have to say?
Well, they asked me if they could have their party at the club.
Who is they?
The
club?
ski lodge. The ski lodge. I managed the club.
All right.
And I agreed. I agreed to let them have it. I didn't charge them anything for it. And then I made it clear. I believe the guy's name who set it up was Jason. And he asked if they could use the green room, the back area, the band room, where all the stuff in
There's
question
nothing
was.
unusual with that. The bar gets benefit of what traffic goes around and about the place of disbursement of the alcoholic beverages.
Well, and then we had a problem because when we asked to clear out the band room, when we asked the people to clear out the band room, we went in and we found they had snuck in several bottles of alcohol, which endangers, our liquor license.
It's not a BYO situation.
Yes,
All right.
and
that cuts
so
down
after
on
we
your
saw that, I
profits.
went and got Jason, the organizer of the party. I told him that you need to get everybody and you needed to get all the stuff out of the green room because I didn't want them back anymore. And then I turned the corner and I saw that someone had thrown up in the hallway back by my office door. And at that point, I told Jason.
Quite inconvenient of them. They can't hold their alcohol.
And I asked Jason, I told him you need to get everybody and all their stuff and get it out of my back room. I don't want you guys back here anymore after I found this snuck-in alcohol. And he was back there while everything was getting taken out of the band room, the green room. He was right there. And then after the fact, after we had cleaned up the vomit and everything, we went into the band room. Jason was there, one of the door guys that was working, Kevin, and myself, and looked, and there was nothing left in the band room whatsoever.
We'll be back with more of Judge Joe Brown after this.
I just wanted to get everything out of the back room so I could make sure that there wasn't any more alcohol that has been snuck in.
That's got nothing to do.
I'm just saying.
That's got nothing to do with me.
Whoa.
And later today,
It is not a bill of sale. I did not actually purchase the car.
Excuse me?
we're back with Judge Joe Brown. The plaintiff in this case says he attended an office party in drag at the defendant's club. During that time, he claims his street clothes were stolen and he was forced to brave the streets of Utah wearing a dress. Let's listen in.
Did you have any agreement with the organizers that the clothing items of the participants could be put in this band room?
I told them they could use it. I didn't check the clothes by any means. Or
Did you check to see if the items had been duly removed?
I was there while they were put in. There was several people from the party stuffing it in bags. All the stuff that was back there.
I'll go to you. Did you check with this Jason individual about
I did. I actually, like I say, there was maybe about 5 people that actually had cars there that were designated drivers, and we talked to all of them and see if they had my stuff. You know, did you end up with extra clothes after the party? Nobody did.
What
at that
sort
point.
of organization is this that organized this whole thing?
It's just it's a ski area that I work at.
In other words, just some of the employees
Yeah,
of the ski resort.
Yeah, basically, it was an employee party.
Do you know this individual we refer to as Jason?
I don't actually know who Jason is exactly. I'm sure he's one of the guys that I work with. I may or may not have talked to Jason. He's not someone that's a personal friend of mine, so I'm not sure exactly who he's talking about.
Well, how did you learn that you were to place the clothing items in this particular location?
I was told by the people who were organizing the party that, yeah, you can dress there. In fact, I asked them when we were at the barbecue before the party, should I change here? And they said, no, there's a place to change there. You know, you can change into your little outfit, and then, you know, you have your stuff there, you change back. So if I would have realized that people were going to be asking other people to remove my stuff, I would have changed at the previous place. You know, I mean, I didn't have any reason to think that somebody would take my stuff without talking to me. Like I said, they got a PA system here. He's got a problem with it. He says.
May I ask you a question? Why did you have them remove the clothing items from this location?
I just wanted to get everything out of the back room so I could make sure that there wasn't any more alcohol that has been snuck in. And
but
that's got nothing to do with me. That's got nothing to do with me.
Whoa. What did you assume was going to happen when the people who had stored their clothing in this room returned to this room and found that it was gone?
Well, like I said, Jason was supposed to inform people to come back and get their stuff, which he was doing, and that's when I found the puke. And then, I'm sorry.
Where was Jason to place these items?
He said he was going to get them to everybody.
Okay. Now, did it occur to you that somebody who was not an employee may have received an invitation to attend this event and been instructed that they might put their clothing items in this particular location? What do you suppose is to happen to them if they know not Jason and they are simply relying upon the representations of the club that this is the location to store the clothing change?
Well, from the way I understood it, that Jason had spoken with everybody that was involved on the party.
How could you ensure that?
That's just what I thought.
You thought. But you, sir, had a bailment that was controlling your obligation to the plaintiff here, and that bailment required that his clothing items be returned to him in the same condition that they were received, and in addition, he relied to his detriment upon the reasonable representation from the club that his clothing might be safely stored in this area until the end of the event. You say this Jason was acting as an agent for everyone concerned. That, under some circumstances, might have sufficed, but at the best, it would have raised a situation that would have allowed a party who was aggrieved to proceed against either or both of you. You might take his pick. So he will prevail in establishing his case. $678 seems like a reasonable amount to the court. Judgment for the plaintiff, of course.
Thank you.
This court
Your
is in
Honor.
recess. Gentlemen, you're excused and you may follow me out the door.
It's a little bit embarrassing.
Were you embarrassed that evening?
At points, yeah, I was fairly embarrassed. I was more embarrassed in the morning.
It was a very uncomfortable situation for everybody that was involved. Sorry it had to end this way, but the judge obviously did what he thought was right, and I'll be fine with that.
And now we're on to the next case.
Item number 151 on calendar, Blake versus Holacek. Will the party step forward, please?
Christine Blake is a 40-year-old homemaker from Golden Valley, Arizona. She is suing her neighbor, 38-year-old fiber optics inspector David Holacek, for the cost of a car.
We have an alleged breach of a contract on a sale of a vehicle. What's this all about, please, ma'am?
Mr. Holacek had purchased a car from me. We had been talking for a while.
Let me ask you this. What sort of vehicle was it?
It's a 1991 Oldsmobile 98.
And what was the agreed purchase price?
$2,500, $1,500 in cash, $1,000 for a shed to be built by May 31st.
Is there a written agreement on this?
Yes.
You have that, please? Miss Holly, if you would be so kind.
His father tore it up.
His father, well, it doesn't invalidate it. It looks like he's grown to me. What's his daddy doing getting involved in the whole thing?
I have no clue.
Judge Joe Brown continues after this.
I spent 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon in 110-degree heat. She was never satisfied with what I was doing. Nitpicked me to death.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by...
I'm a go.
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The plaintiff in this case says she thought she had a deal with the defendant. She'd sell him a car in return for cash and labor. He got the car, but up to this point, she's only received partial payment. Let's take a look.
You signed this, sir?
Yes, I did.
All right. This term seems to be clear enough. Sold as is, 1991 Oldsmobile 98 on May 14th to the defendant for the amount of $2,500, $1,500 cash, paid May 14th. Ought one, $1,000 shed to be built by May 31st, ought one. Buyer, the defendant, dated 5/14/01. You did, in fact, receive $1,500 cash. Is
Yes,
that right?
I did.
What is the status of the shed that is referred to in the agreement?
I do not have a shed. He had told me that it would be done before I got back from California. First off, he had said that he wanted to get my mother's house done because he had gone down, checked out my mother's house to...
Does your mother live nearby you?
in Palm Springs. It's about 4 hours away.
Okay. So you're saying that he had an independent agreement to paint your mother's home?
Yes, with my mother. And so he said that he would like to do that first because his mother was coming on the 30th, and he would like to be home for his mother coming down. I said, okay, that's fine. I don't mind him doing that as long as it was done before the 31st. Anyways, when he went down to do my mother's house, he did a very lousy job. She fired him. And because of that, he now says that he is not going to build my shed or pay me any kind of money unless my mother pays him.
It's an independent agreement. It has absolutely nothing to you. You have no privity of contract with
Right.
your mother and he on that. So you're saying, in effect, you either wanted specific performance, that is the building of your shed, or the monetary value thereof. Now, at this point, I'll go to you, sir. Is there any reasonable excuse that you might offer to the court for your failure to perform?
I have quite a bit of reason.
What is that?
To begin with, I do not do this by trade. I was doing a favor when this Christine
Favor
Blake...
to whom?
To Christine Blake.
How do you call that a favor? That's part of the purchase price of the vehicle.
I had built a deck on my home. She saw it and said, can you build me one of these decks? I said, fine. I got her the lowest price for materials. Even what she offered to pay me, I even took less because she was a neighbor. Then she says, hey, can you build me a shed also? So I said, sure, I can build you a shed. She says, work up the figures on what materials would cost for a shed. So I did so, which came to roughly $308 to $318. Now, I have never received any money to build a shed and or any labor wages to build this shed.
You weren't supposed to.
In the meantime, your mother,
Don't interrupt.
she asks if I do any house painting. My mother needs her house painted, so I agreed to do that. I worked there 6 days of that week. I spent 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon in 110-degree heat painting this house for her mother, which she was never satisfied with what I was doing. Nitpicked me to death. She gives me $1,000 on Friday. I told her I needed some money to keep going. She still owes me $1,700. On Saturday morning, she says, oh, it's not good enough. You might as well go home. So I said, fine. This is a whole different issue. I went home. Now, when I come back, she's saying, you still owe me my shed. Well, Your Honor, this is a contract. It was just a pre-arrangement agreement. It is not a bill of sale. I did not actually purchase the car.
Excuse me?
Who has the car?
My father owns the car.
Judge Joe Brown makes his
Call
ruling.
1-877-JOE'S-LAW. On the internet, judgejoebrown.com.
You gave it to your father?
I consulted with my attorney, and she told me I was in not a good position to buy, sell, or trade anything at the time. So when I decided not to buy the car, I don't feel like I should owe the other half of the agreement either, seeing as how I never bought the car. My father has the car. I have all the documentation. It was registered.
You signed it over to him?
No, he bought the car. The receipts are from him.
From who?
My father bought the car from her.
Did he sign this?
No.
The receipts are from him.
Did he sign this?
No, he doesn't have
Now
to
you
sign
stop
that.
giving me that utter nonsense.
He doesn't have to
Be
sign
quiet.
that when he buys the car.
Be quiet. Act like you're a grown man with some kind of common sense and have enough dignity to stop trying to run that foolishness by the court.
Your Honor,
I tell you what, you've got your $1,000. You also have damages for fraud and deceit in the inducement, since it appears from what he said out of his mouth under oath that he had no intention of honoring this contract, that he did take the collateral on this contract, surrender the collateral to someone else, causing title to be had in that other individual's name, thereby jeopardizing the availability of the collateral to secure his obligation to you. $1,000 for your balance on the note, that is the value of the construction of the shed, and an additional $1,000 for damages on the failure to deal with this contractual obligation in an honest and forthright fashion.
Court is in recess.
Get yourself out of here and get your act together.
Ma'am, I'll ask you to step out the door.
Hit him!
And the defendant in this case tried to tell the judge that his father actually owned the car in question. His name is on the agreement, and he is stuck with the deal. Judgment for the plaintiff. We'll find out what the litigants have to say in a moment.
Tomorrow on Judge Joe Brown. He's a deadbeat dad down on his luck.
In my way, I do pay child support.
What do you mean in your way?
And he's suing his daughter.
This is a damn disgrace and a shame.
Next, Judge Joe Brown.
Here, because it makes no sense. Now it begins to get sensible, because that's what the subject of the argument is, that you two don't seem to recall.
No.
Judge Joe Brown makes his ruling after this.
Something wicked is coming your way.
Your witness says that he had a case of beer in this 2-hour period of time, which, considering his weight, is going to get an individual to the point where he is. How much do you weigh?
165.
165. 12 cans of beer is going to leave him at that weight somewhere around 0.26, 0.28 if he consumes that within a 2-hour period of time. I listened to that tape. He doesn't sound that inebriated because one of the indicia is slurred speech. Secondly, his explanation lends candor and does lend some credence to a logical chain of events that could have led to what you complain about. You are evasive relative to what went on. Your witness is too inebriated to remember what was going on at the time, and you can't come up with any reason why your friend and acquaintance over here would suddenly run next door and deliver a false accusation as to battery. I find that you have not sustained your burden of proof, and that is showing by, be quiet, Bashan, showing by the preponderance of the evidence that what you allege is more likely than not. Case dismissed.
This court is in recess. Gentlemen, I'll ask you to gather your belongings and follow me out the door.
Every person in court today had a completely different story about what happened on the night in question, from the alcohol consumed to the conduct of the litigants. But the defendant had a pretty heavy accusation that made sense to the court about how things perhaps had gotten out of hand. Case dismissed for the plaintiff. We'll find out what the litigants have to say after this.
Tomorrow on Judge Joe Brown. Her husband disappeared along with her possessions.
How did you discover where he was?
His mistress.
Now she's going after the other woman.
They took you to jail.
He told the police I had a gun.
Next, Judge Joe Brown.
The judge believed that, I guess, liars can lie, and let him continue to lie, and eventually he will meet his day.
Why